Hi, I'm Lisa Ambjörn, and you're watching the Permanent Rain Press.
I know behind the scenes it was important for you to create a sustainable and ethical production and set, and you got to see these values through, especially in season three. Tell me about the choices you made with the vegan food, the secondhand clothes, and how you sourced all of that.
Well, it was really a team effort and a lot to do with we had an eco coordinator called Hannah who was brilliant, who was our nurse on season two, and then because it was still COVID, and who then has stepped up and to do this eco job. I mean, we lowered our footprints with I think it was 47%. Don't quote me on that. And with the food, 95%, which says something about how huge of an impact, um, how you choose to spend your money food-wise, what you eat, how much it actually matters. And I do think if people believe in like boycott, and if they believe that in other instances that they don't want to spend money on organizations or companies that do really bad things across the globe, I think really important to consider what you eat, because that has a huge impact. And it was very cool to get to show that because, as you can imagine, the one thing that people have opinions about is the food and about it being vegan, because there's a lot of misinformation out there, and there's a lot of influencers now and companies and the meat lobby really pushing for us to be very misinformed about nutrition and about what the body needs to be sustainable and how food is sourced across the globe, etc., etc., etc. So that was actually the biggest job, was the attitude, not absolutely not from everyone, but on set with having vegan food, for example, people still think that they don't get protein if they don't eat vegan food, for example. And you're like, okay, but there is lentils, potatoes, and tofu in this, which combined are like the best protein you can get, you know. So there are some things that I learned from this production that I will probably bring on to my next one. And it did feel important because we are talking about social injustices in young royals, and especially queerness and homophobia. And like saying with other characters, not being able to comprehend other social injustices that happen across the globe is very human and it's very normal. And it just felt like, if we can show that this is possible to the rest of the industry, and we can do our best. And it's, by the way, not a fully vegan production, because that would mean, you know, no animals. We don't have the horse in season three. There's an old image of the horse in season three, but we do have fishes in the aquarium. That was in the room, to be fair, when we got there. But uh, there are like leather and wool in the clothes, but it's secondhand. But you know, like I will try in the future to just do like fully vegan and sustainable productions. But it did feel important as a whole. What we are trying to say is that uh, there are social injustices. There are people, like individuals who are restrained in their life because of people wanting to control them, don't want them to live a queer life, don't want them to, you know, women should be this and that, or men should be that, or racism. There are structures in place that makes certain people not being able to live their life to the fullest, living how they want to live without hurting anyone else. And that also includes non-human animals. You know, we are all animals. So in one way, I'm like, sustainability for animals is also like the animals that we are. But it did feel really important as a whole, as an idea of what we are telling, the values that we are trying to encourage and try to see, like not putting others, not harming others just because you have your IDs, you know. So that's why.
I do think it's really valuable and important that your morals are reflected in your actions. So I'm glad that you did get to see more of, this vision come to life in season three. And what's really cool is Netflix also released a little featurette about the changes made on set, and you can see even like, the transportation back and forth. Like you really did work on a lot of different aspects. So I hope you further get to kind of expand and
Yeah.
reach, even 100% in the CO2 emissions in food, because you're already at 95, so there's only, 5 more percentage to go there. You
Exactly.
have said a challenge was battling the budget. What are one or two items that you didn't get to see come to life because of budget limitations?
Hmm. Oh, there is a lot. No, but I think especially I think maybe especially season two suffered in the sense of locations. By the way, our set designers are amazing. They've done an amazing job in all three seasons. But it was winter, it was pretty ugly outside. We couldn't afford going to certain locations. I had certain ideas that I wanted to like bring up the production level. The thing was, unfortunately, from season one, we had a problem production wise, budget wise, with, for example, locations. We knew that we couldn't replicate what we had done in season one because people became exhausted in season one. We had too much overtime. It was not good in the sense of like, because it is so it's so expensive to move from locations. And I do think the look of season two might have like slightly suffered from the fact that we were like, we need to make this sustainable in a everyday work day for our team, and we're not going to get more money from Netflix. That's not how it works, and people need to understand that. So we couldn't redo season one because that would have killed us. Like we wouldn't have been able to finish it. Um, so that was one thing. And then also generally, I think like choices like music, for example, you can't always afford like the best track that you've had in the edit some places because it's too big of an artist, or they want a lot of money. And we, even if we put so much more money into the music budget each year to keep it like, because it increases. And you have to remember also now it's both recession and inflation, and it doesn't really account for that. The budget is the same with a small percentage each year. It's not like in the US where you renegotiate and you're like, oh, it was a success, we get more money. Um, so I do think like, I mean, I would have loved to have more episodes, to do more, even pay for even more. Like, for example, in season one, we use, like where the camera is like on I can't speak now because I'm getting tired. Like on a crane, or it's moving towards, it's on a track, and it takes a lot of time to build the track and a lot of money because time is money. So we couldn't do that in the rest of the season. We had to work more with handheld camera, etc. And sometimes I can be a little bit like disencouraging when I see like some fans who are like, oh, it doesn't look as good or blah blah blah, and I'm like, we really did like everything in our power. But I'm still like so proud. I think everyone has done so amazing throughout all seasons, but also this like season, I'm so proud to get to end on this like high note, like being so just proud of everyone.
Overall, the fandom has really come through for this show. Tell me about the support and how it's impacted you now that it's kind of sunk in that the series has concluded.
Yeah, I think it's the most beautiful thing that has ever happened to me professionally. I think the premiere for the last episode that we did in Stockholm, which it was, in one way, I wish that the whole world could have been physically together in a room and watch that. And of course, that's not possible. But it was so cool because I had the like TikTok live stream on my phone at the same time as I was in that room watching it with everyone. And that moment for me was so powerful because it was like a manifestation of it was like I could feel all the voices online and everyone who doesn't have the possibility to come to Sweden, or maybe never will, but this like love and support and the emotions that everyone pour in, and the time and effort and energy that everyone has given, writing these beautiful fan fictions, and writing analysis and helping each other, and like finding friends and finding partners. Like people have fallen in love through this fandom, and for me to have that kind of, I mean, even the people who are super critical and who doesn't necessarily like me or the work, or who at least think they know what parts of the job I've done or not, even the ones who don't like me, that they take the time is still like so engaging. They still engage, which is amazing. And no, I just feel, I'm not sure if I could have done this without the fandom, in a sense, in getting so much, firstly stories that people write to me in DMs, and tell me about their life experiences, and how they relate to the show, and what happened to them, and how it was when they were young, or what is happening to them right now in their teenage lives. It does make me really like hopeful. It makes me love humans, which I think is a very amazing quality to be able to do to someone else in a time of like horrific war crimes and horrible things happening across the world. It's seeing that much love, and all the talk about algorithms and social media, and how hate is winning, and like how hate is engaging. So hate makes you stay on a platform longer, which is the goal of these platforms. And at the same time, I'm like, yeah, but so is also love. The absolute majority of what I see and what I get is love and encouragement, and people supporting, and people taking the time to write a message to me saying, you did a great job. I'm like, that can blow my mind that someone has taken that time. So it is really I feel so ridiculous every time I say it, because I feel like I've said it so many times, and us saying like, you are the story. Like the Young Royals fandom is Young Royals. Like it's just, the same. But it's because it's true. That it feels like that, and it feels like that in the team, and it feels like that for all the actors, and when we talk about it, it's usually that we talk about how much we love all the fans and like show stuff that they've done or made for us, or talk and like, oh, I heard this story and this person, like it gives me a lot of energy, and also trying to be brave and trying to do change stuff in this industry that isn't good. Um, and it's far from being perfect, and I'm not sure how much impact I can have, but it does really, really inspire me.
You've had a tremendous impact. If having 3 successful seasons is any indication of that. And what's great is you have gotten the opportunity to connect with some fans in person. You mentioned the finale event. You've also been at different like panels, discussions, Stockholm Pride. I know fans from different countries even visited the set as well. There's some of that in the documentary.
Oh, they are so amazing. Oh, that is actually a fun story. No one has. No, this is a hilarious story, because we saw. I was sent some pictures that people had come to visit set, which, and usually they're super respectful. Like you will see them far away, and they're like, oh, like super excited, but they don't want to interrupt, and they don't want to destroy anything for any other of the fans. But we saw that someone had like taken photos through the windows in our office. And I was like, oh, we have to, and we had this talk to the team where we were like, we have to be really careful what we leave outside. And, any papers with story or any images of actors, like we have to put that in drawers when we leave so they don't see it. And then I was like, I could plant fake scripts. So if they take pictures through the windows, they will get fake script pages. So I actually sat down one day when we were shooting and I didn't have to do anything. I was just sitting by the monitor and I wrote some fake pages of the script that was supposed to look like a script had just been flipped open and you saw something very dramatic happening on that one page. And we placed them around the office. And I was like, if someone sees this, this is going to be hilarious. And it was such stupid things. There was like a, not a love triangle, but a love, um, what would you call it? Rectangle with like Nisse hitting on Simon, hitting on Will. Like it was ridiculous, and like there was some fans who were like, they're looking for a double, a body double for Frida, so she's gonna be in a car, and maybe she's gonna die in a car crash. So I wrote a scene where her and August died in a car crash. And I placed them in the office, and and then like a week later we had like a meeting with Netflix, and I told them like jokingly, and they were like, and then like an hour later I had like a call being like, remove all of them. Like we do not want the drama that this is gonna create. And I'm like, okay, sorry. And like we had to throw it all away. But that was really funny.
You were
So I was
having
trying
too much
to,
fun behind the scenes. You were just hoping
yes.
someone would take a photo of these fake scripts.
Yes, and upset the entire fandom and then being like, it was a joke. But to be fair, maybe I should have learned that you shouldn't joke a lot with the fandom.
Hey, you were
Um,
trying to have a bit of fun at the expense maybe of some people's emotions, but that's so funny that you were just like, I'm just going to have fun with it because people there are genuinely a lot of curious fans out there as you've grown to know. I feel like the show has also single-handedly driven a lot of tourism to Sweden because people have been wanting to check out Hilariska and the castle, which is so great that people are getting to explore the country. How have you grown personally as a writer and showrunner, but also as a person through your Young Royals journey?
wow, I'm not even sure that I could answer that. Like, God, I'm not even sure that words can describe the journey that this has been for me, both on a professional level, just all the experiences, the good and the bad with colleagues, learning how to deal with conflicts, learning how to deal with the harsh reality that a film shoot is, which is, like people are tired, you're shooting, people are, being away from their families and being a good leader and boss in that in some aspects and are creatively inspiring your team, getting everyone to work for the same vision and the same goal, um, to being like a good human, as good as possible. I'm not sure if I'm a good human, but trying. And I do think my process has been heavily changed since season one. I feel like I've really learned how I want to work and why it's so important to have a screenwriter, the head writer, who is a part of the whole production because it's so helpful for the rest of the team. Not even speaking from a place of like, it's not about being in charge or having power because then you shouldn't even be in filmmaking because it's a collaborative process, but it's about being helpful to your team and making sure that they can do the best possible, have the best possible day with the material, and helping them when they get in trouble and when things aren't working, to find good solutions with them. So I think I'm much less worried now than I was in the beginning of this process. I don't spend time obsessing about things that I have now learned doesn't matter anyway, because this is film, everything changes. I mean, so much has changed in each season for different reasons, and it is part of the process. And at first I thought, this is because I'm new or because, I don't know how to do it, but it's not. It's all of the processes. And when I talk to people who do this, who like to work in a similar way that I do, and to like Jesse Armstrong and Michelle and Robert King, for example, who are three showrunners. It's very similar. And you do understand they are older than me and they have much more experiences, but you do understand that like you can't spend time on things that you can't change and control, but you have to spend time on the things that you can change. And I now know how I want to set up my team. I now know that people's kindness and collaborativeness is much more important than anything else, any other skill you can have, because if you have that, you can raise the creative bar in other ways. I know how I like to, plan the writing. I know I can write a lot in a very short amount of time, which is a strength and something that I now know how to trust, and to be understand that a lot of my job is to being able to take criticism. I know I've been accused online for not being able to take criticism, but I would say it's my job. It's what everyone does. Even if it's called feedback, it is really critique, because it is saying, and I don't think it's necessarily, it's not bad. It's not saying it in a negative way. It's just like people have to be able to come with all of their fears and worries and thinking, can we do anything differently? Is this really the best way to do this? Are we really going to tell this story in this particular way? Are we going to, they have to bring everything to you, and you have to be able to carry that and just be in that with them, and then you can find a way out. So I am going to show run in my next project, which is also in the US. So it's a bit scary because it's another completely different industry, and everything is much bigger. But I do feel like this has given me the skill set that I need. And that is also why I'm so extremely grateful for the fans and everyone who's been watching, because they have given this to me in a way, which is amazing. And I can just, say thank you to everyone.
So exciting. I know you did a survey as well, on Instagram
Yes.
stories to get some opinions about, some of your US American viewers and followers. And I think what you said is just so poignant, because it's like knowing also when to let go of things that don't work, and just knowing how you work as a showrunner, because you only want to create environments and spaces that are conducive and healthy to yourself and to the project as a whole. We'll go through some tweets now. So
Yay.
if you have your phone.
Another small detail to be sad about is Simon never got to see Wille's purple nails, even though Wille clearly chose that color for him. Yeah, I know. I love this scene where they paint the nails, and when we were like, oh, he's gonna put on the purple color and then obviously wash it off. Obviously he's doing it for Simon, even if it's like under like maybe he's not consciously like purple is Simon, but obviously it is. Um no, yes, it is very sad. I'm sorry for all the sadness. I think there's so many things as well where you're like, why is this happening to them?
It was such a nice scene though to add between Wilhelm and Felice, to have that moment, because we saw so much of that in season 2, maybe a bit less so in season 3, but to show the friendship and the safe space that they give each other.
Yeah, both that and when she comes and picks him up for the party. I think it's one of the funniest scenes when he sits in his little hoodie being, it is one of my favorite lines when he is like, oh, I just lost the love of my life. I just did. Like, he's so Wille in that moment. Like, Edvin does him so amazingly. And then her just being like, yeah, you said this. And then like, I love their friendship. And I think that painting nails, it was also something that was, um, that we just did a lot as teenagers. We just painted our nails together a lot. And all of our like queer male friends as well. That's what we did. So I love it. I love to be able to add those little things in there. How has no one humbled Vincent yet? He should be silent with a haircut like that. Yeah. I think this haircut is I have we had so much funny backstory with Vincent. Actually, me and Niels spoke about him a lot, and I also asked them to write all the characters got to write the letter to themselves. The third years got to write the letters that they had written to themselves 2 years prior. And the story like that me and Nils had about Vincent being like that he was this like really posh upper class kind of fuck up, that he was like an upper class skateboard boy who kind of like his parents kind of sent him off because he was smoking and just being out with his friend doing stupid stuff, and then this school has changed him, but he still carries these like random like acts of like I'm a bit different, which is like his ridiculous which is his ridiculous haircut. I love it. Yep, correct. Humble him, please, someone.
I mean, he's so degrading. Like him suggesting the import of the year, I just wanted to like knock him
Oh,
down
that
a level.
was that, and that is also the actor who is a third year student there is so good. I think in that scene, who kind of when he turns around and goes like, "Oh, but you thought it was funny," like the guy who is clearly non-white, and he goes, little bit, but maybe not." Like his face there, you're just like, yeah, that's how it feels when you try to be like someone is like, yeah, you like trying to like excuse it with being like you thought it was funny, and it's like. I guess because I didn't like want to be like belittled by you. Well, I know he's a pretty shit person. Wille had to mourn Erik twice. Once he died and once he lost him. Yeah, yeah, that is very, very true. And I think it's very true what Phyllis is telling him, and what August is also telling him, that like Erik would have loved you no matter what. He loved you above everything else. But it's more about that part for Villa to, yeah, understand that he isn't perfect, and that there would have like which side would he have been on um in this whole thing as well? Would it be the queen, or would it have been him and Simons? Like I think that really dawns on him in that understanding. Yeah, that is very sad. Kind of unpopular opinion, but I think the fact that Simon struggles so hard to think about a birthday gift for Ville perfectly shows how messy their relationship has become and how little they know about each other, to the point that Ville is almost a stranger to him. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I agree. Absolutely. I do think that they are understanding in the season how far away from each other they are, and how little they actually know and understand each other's upbringings. But I do also think it's hilarious that I would not know what to give to my prince boyfriend. Like, what do you give someone who has everything? Like, it is so like, and especially I think it's okay if it was like a regular guy and you still felt like, oh, it's not like I can afford anything. Even if you came and like, oh, here's a bag of candy and like I've written this note, like everything at that age is like a bit awkward and feels like really embarrassing. And what if he doesn't like it? And then on top of that, he's the prince and he gets a watch for like $50,000 by his parents on his birthday dinner, and that's like a real watch. So yeah.
Is it one of those things? I am a bit curious because, we don't see them really get to know each other because they don't have the ability to have dates like regular teenagers. But do you think that they do know each other in terms of like favorite music artists, favorite books, or is there just a lot more for them to learn about each other?
No, I mean, I do have to say, we do try to kind of make it feel in the show like we are not missing moments between, like, it's not like, oh, and then 2 weeks have passed and they have done all of this in between, because it's the rhythm of the show. But I do think, I mean, they sit next to each other every lesson and discuss everything. Of course, they talk to each other. Of course, oh, you should listen to this song. They send each other music. They send each other memes and quotes that they like. I mean, their text conversation is obviously something that we have never seen in its full. We've seen, little excerpts. And I do think you have to think about it that way, because otherwise, I mean, even if I would have added like three scene or even one scene like that, I mean, you have to fight for your life to keep any scene really when it comes to any network. And if something isn't moving the story along, even the little baking, like the little scene where they bake, where you see them bake with the girls, that was like, people were like, oh, it's unnecessary. Nothing happened. It doesn't move the story forward. Everyone wanted to take it out. Not everyone, but a lot of people wanted to take it out in the edit, especially the network. Just like it doesn't advance the story. And I know that there are shows that have come afterwards that are built on other material, which already has a fan base where maybe they can. It's a show where much more of that is happening throughout, but Young Royals isn't. It's not what we set it up as. So you do have to fill in those blanks for yourself. I'm sorry, fans. I'm really sorry, but you do. I'm sorry, but when Simon walked in, I was like, why does he still have those pants on? When is he gonna change? And then he never did. Okay, so I know that Cecilia, the costume designer for season 2 and 3, has spoken about this on her Instagram. I do think that there was a discussion both about the jacket and about the trousers. I have to say, throughout the team, there was one of our editors were like, Pablo, he was like, it is too big. What do we mean with it being so big? Like they got some money from August, like he can go and buy a new one. Why? Like we had so many discussions. But what I do find so funny with Simon, and it also comes in with this teenagey awkwardness. If you look at Simon's clothes overall, except his school uniform, which is obviously enforced upon him at school, and which I also don't think he's very comfortable in. Like it's very tight and it's very, like his style, he's not Omar. Simon is not Omar. Omar has a great sense of fashion. He always looks amazing. He's, Sweden's best dressed man, or whatever the title he got was. But Simon is like a teenager who is trying stuff and who maybe, like, I remember as a teen, like, I'm sorry, but I looked terrible. Like, I would get this idea that, like, this is my favorite t-shirt. And it was an ugly ass t-shirt. Like, it didn't even fit me. It was in a weird color that didn't match with my skin tone. But I was like, this is my favorite. And I wore it. And I think it's very nice to kind of capture, like, both, like, maybe he thinks it's a bit cool that it's a bit oversized and he feels comfortable and he doesn't know, like, oh, if I have, like, I look really ridiculous if I have the matching trousers, like these are much cooler. Like he has some sense that he what he wants to portray, and he's going to the castle. He's super nervous. He wants to be himself, but he also wants to, like, show them that he's serious, but he also, like, all of these conflicting feelings. So I love it. Even if it's ridiculous. I cannot believe August got fleabagged, laughing my ass off. Yeah. Oh, we had a talk about. I remember watching Fleabag, thinking about what the translation of what he tells her would be in Swedish, and really liking the the Swedish, det kommer gå över. It's a very, like, it's not actually as clean as it will pass. In some ways, it is a direct translation, but it just rings slightly differently. And I really liked that line in Swedish. And then when I thought about Frida, who was going to do this scene with Sarah, and I was thinking, like, oh, we can't use what Fleabag used, but it was like, I was like, that is what she needs to tell him. And it's Sarah, it's the character Sarah, and she would not say it in any other way than what it's actually is. And I was like, I guess we're going Fleabag. And when Frida read it, she was like, I get to Fleabag. Or she gets to be the priest. And I was like, yes, you do. It was fond memory. What did he want to say? Oh, it's in the library. Simon, I just want to say that. I just want to say that. Okay, should I tell you what he's gonna say there? That is when I felt that he was gonna tell him, um, like, I just want you to know that apart from everything that has happened and everything that happened at home and like I would have been a different person if I hadn't met you. Like that's what he would have gone into. He wanted to do the lake scene here, kind of like you could say that he wanted to start to have that honest conversation. But then when they get interrupted and he realizes, because he starts the scene with kind of like not knowing if he's gonna go up to, he's kind of hiding from Simon. And then Simon in the end kind of cuts him short and go like, oh, I'm not sure if, and then just leaves. He doesn't stay and say, okay, but actually, Henry, fuck off. We are going to talk and then continue to have the talk. He doesn't listen to him. So when they meet at the party and everything, he does feel like maybe he's done. He doesn't want to hear anymore. He doesn't want to say those fine, like he doesn't, he's done. I need to respect him. And then Simon comes up to him and says, let's have one last night. Let's, remember us. That's what I wanted him to say there.
It was
And
such
then, of
a
course,
good
Henry.
scene. Henry has the worst timing ever. I'm sure you noticed that the first time around. You're like, I'm going to write this is a recurring theme for him. Just
Yes,
no sense of
absolutely.
awareness.
No, and I think Fabian plays it so funnily. Like he plays Henry in such a fun way. Like you do really feel like he's just like, like it's so funny. Like he just appears and he does that so well, like in his body. And then when in the morning when uh with Walter and Henry when he has like fallen asleep in the grass, like the whole like body thing between them is so hilarious. I love them. Oh, this parallel with the plastic bits on the football field. Yeah, I love that one because I was thinking, obviously, when Wille called Simon in season one, Simon obviously didn't know that Wille was holding the plastic bits in his hand, but he remembers the whole like this is when he remembers the whole like all the people are fake, they're made out of metal, but I like you, and that's not fake. Like that's the whole like that comes back to him. So then when he is lying there, he does this thing, not knowing that Wille has done that, and that's what he was thinking of. But something is awakening him, and then he goes off on this night and have this night when Wille, and then he comes back home and write this song where he adds a version of that line in. It just felt like full circle moment. And also shooting this scene, it was Roshan Ayub's last scene. And it was so beautiful at that football field, like just that widescreen shot in the beginning of that scene when you see the like it's one of my favorite shots in the entire show. I think it's so gorgeous, and I love them in that scene. I love them to get to be, they get to end on being like the coolest, best, funniest friends. Uh, like, and we are us just knowing like they have each other for life. That's never gonna change. And I think it's just, yeah, beautiful. It's weird to say that about your own show, but you know what I mean. I need a Young Royals book. I want to tab and annotate the pages, have something physical to remember the story. Honestly, should never say never. I think just after we finished the show and during the spring, I was like, I need to move on. It's never gonna happen, but I'm not so sure anymore. I think the hard part is I don't think we can ever release the scripts uh, like legally. I think there is a lot of I think maybe they could release like the script version that is from the actual show, but not the original. Also, it's unfortunately when you work for certain networks and when you're not a big name and you haven't managed to get a better deal. I don't own Young Royals. It's Netflix. So I unfortunately can't just go and do and write and take the scripts myself or write a book. I would need their permission, but who knows? They might be up for it. Um,
Petition. So people need to petition Netflix to give you back
yes,
the story and
exactly.
the characters.
Push
But
them.
I think it'd be so cool to have some kind of companion to
Yeah.
commemorate the series.
And it would be so cool, just even if it was like these like the scripts, like the shooting scripts, and the like scenes that we took out, and maybe some extra of the things that I had thought was gonna be able to put in there and that we didn't. That would be cool. That would be actually really, really cool. Yeah, something like you say, like you want it in your bookshelf. You want to be able to be like, oh yeah, I remember, you know. Did no one notice Lisa in the last episode playing guitar and singing to Wille happy birthday? Oh yeah, I guess they mean episode 5, as in the last episode, because of the first bunch that was released. It was very funny to get to do a cameo. I've done a cameo in Sick as well, and I was really worried. Actually, funny story. When we were gonna post the first look photos from the series, we released that one photo of Wille and Simon looking at each other, standing in front of from the birthday scene, standing in front of the Queen and Ludwig and all the people. And first they had chosen a picture where you saw me in it. And I was like, absolutely not. Like, you have to take that away. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, we can't do this to the poor audience who's gonna be like, did Lisa like choose to have herself in that scene? Funny with that scene, firstly, it's a ridiculous birthday song sung by a Swedish cartoon that like aired in like the 90s and the 70s. They did like two different versions. And it's a really ridiculous birthday song. You can find it on YouTube. And my dad always sings it when it's my birthday. So when we were gonna do this scene, the episode writer Theo had written his versions, and I was gonna go in and write my versions. And I was like, we need to add, we need to do something more with this scene. So I was like, oh, actually, frog the ball, which it's called, grodan ball in English. And I was like, if we can have that, it's both the theme of the frog that we've had with the royal family. It says something about maybe this is the birthday song that they've sung. You know, they do something different. They have their own family traditions, and this is what they sing on someone's birthday, and it will surprise the Swedish audience as well as the international, who I guess don't even understand what they are singing. Um, and I had written like, oh, it's maybe it's his like Ville's old nanny is like playing the guitar, like accompanying the song. And then Linnea was like, okay, am I gonna find an extra who is gonna play guitar firstly, and then also know this song that no one knows? She was like, can you do it? And I was like, and I got so nervous. So I was like, my dad had to come over with his old guitar because I didn't have like an acoustic guitar at home. I only have electric. And we were like play. He was like, "Do you remember you played like this?" And I was like sitting at home, like practicing, like I'm gonna fuck up the whole scene because I'm gonna play the wrong chords or something. And then these poor like extras who we are like, we're gonna sing the Frog the Ball birthday song, and like getting Pernilla August to sing the song. I was like, she's like a legend, and also Magnus, obviously, who plays Ludwig. I'm like, they're two legendaries, and I'm like getting them to do this. But it was really funny in the end when it was done. I'm really happy that we did it. But yeah, and saving some money on the extras.
I love that scene, and it's so nice that you got to use your father's guitar in the scene as well. Call back
Yeah.
to your relationship with him. And as we kind of round up the home stretch here, Edvin and Omar, they've carried the weight and complexities of their characters the past few years. Now this current chapter is coming to a close. I'm sure you've had conversations with them privately, but publicly, what can you say about what it's been like watching them grow and what they've meant to you in this journey?
I have indeed have had a lot of conversations with them about this. It is basically makes up most of our conversations every time I see them. I just need to tell them how amazing they are. Um, it has been so beautiful to be able to go from having these fictional characters in one's mind, in the mind of the team, and then suddenly them coming to life with these, for me, unexpected um, actors, in the sense that I never really try to envision what the physical aspects of a character is, because I also like the surprise of seeing castings. I don't like to make my mind up. I think a lot of other people do. Actually, when I watched the documentary and they were like, oh, we were thinking this about this character, but then this came in, and I was like, who was thinking that? I wasn't thinking that. Like, um, because for me it's more of an energy, but to go from seeing them take their first steps together on this journey, everything they've accomplished in that time, that they have been able to remain down to earth, really nice people and good friends to each other, and supporting not only each other but members of the team and me, and exploring, having this explorative creative process together with them, seeing them stepping up every season, because that has to be said. They have been amazing since day one, but in the third season, I think you can see that in every frame, that their acting and their compassion shines through in every frame. And they will forever ever be my muses. Like they will continue to inspire me, even if we don't work with each other like for like few years, because that's usually how it is. It takes a little while. I do think that they are, and then they are also role models in how to stay grounded in all of this, and to care a lot about how your team is having it, and having a good vibe on set. No, they are amazing, both as actors and colleagues, and they're so professional. And I'm just so impressed and proud and lucky to have gotten to do this with them, and to see through in this beautiful way, and to be in the unknowing together, and being worried together and scared together, but just standing firm and being in that. That is the most amazing thing you can get to do with your colleagues, I think.
It's so precious to have that bond and just have that experience working together, like you mentioned, giving it your all into like the final scene, because there's nothing worse than working with, I want to say, actors. And I'm not saying this happens all the time, but I'm sure it happens, like having people maybe check out, before it's over, but knowing that they're just committed to these characters and the story makes it all the more worthwhile. How has your relationship with the whole cast really blossomed and strengthened? Because I know that you were also at, was it Samuel Astor's birthday, and you were reunited with the cast and you were all singing Simon's song on stage. I saw that on Instagram. So it's kind of special to have that relationship.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm a person who's not very, I don't go to a lot of like industry events, and I don't have a lot of close friends in the industry. I don't really hang out with in the right clique, and I don't know the right people. I know the people I've worked with, because then I have experience of working with, but I do feel really privileged to um knowing that I will probably know these people for the rest of my life. It's a small industry. We'll probably continue to work with each other, and to get this start in that kind of hopefully lifelong collaboration is just beautiful. And I don't think I've ever would have imagined that when we started. And I think I'm also really looking forward to this generation, and my generation getting, being able to start taking over the top position at some places, bringing some new values and ideas and stuff in, even if I'm no ageist, to be fair. I think like people are pretty much the same throughout, but it makes me really hopeful to watch also like Nikita and Frida. I'm so proud of them, and what they have accomplished, and how they are. If I was half as smart as them when I was at their age, I would just thank my lucky star. Um, and Malte, like all of them, like the whole team. Like I'm just looking forward to what all of them are gonna do. I think we're gonna see a mix in the future of actors also not only being actors, but they're gonna be producing and writing and going off into different field. They have a much like they don't have the same kind of close minded like, oh, you can only do one thing that I think maybe previous generations might have had. And that makes me also really hopeful. And yeah, just them being very keen on making art in a very like commercial world impresses me and makes me hope that like we'll see a lot more of all of them. And I mean, they are also, doing theater and doing like so many different sides that we don't get to see internationally because it's not a big international show, but it's very cool to follow. And yeah, I mean, I see them all as my inspiration, and hopefully like I'll give it some time. I'll go and work in the US, and then I'll invite them home for dinner and I'll ask them all the questions about what have happened. And I do feel like in some ways a mother mothering
They'll
um
always be your children.
a professional mom, Queen Christina mom. No, I was kidding. Hopefully not. No, but they're all yeah, just so inspirational and professional and super cool.
Well, I hope you get to work with them again in the future. Maybe you can bring them to the US with you. If when you become an American or international, showrunner as well. A recurring response that you and the cast have given is knowing when to hand the baton over to the imagination of the audience. Tell me about leaving a character story open-ended and the value in that for you.
Can I ask you what you mean with open-ended?
I
Because I'm
mean,
not sure how
not
open-ended I think it is.
having a closure in terms of like, let's just take the final scene, the four friends driving off into the future, the fate of Halerska still up in the air, and just basically, even as soon as next school year, what that could mean for them.
Yeah, okay, then I understand. Well, I do think there is sometimes an urge to over explain something. I can have that urge sometime because it feels like the last straw of control that you have. We talked about it throughout this interview about thinking that you can have control of something, and over explaining what I think happens, or the discussions that I've had with the actors individually about what we think happens with their character, sometimes aligning with my idea and sometimes different. um, I do think it's important to decide this is the moment, and especially from the point of view where we're telling the story, where does Wille want to go off and live his life? Where does he feel that he has given us what we need to know about him in order to say, and now I'm going to go and live? And it felt like that moment. It did really feel like that is the moment where he has come to his conclusion and his ID. And even if we don't know what that means for the royal house, we don't know what it means for Hilerska, we don't know what it means for August, and he knows, and we can see it in his eyes. And for me, that was like, and that's enough, you know.
Because like you said before, it's all through these five characters perspective, really, like the story that you want to tell. We're kind of going to group the last three questions here in terms of, because we talked about it a bit about you not owning young royals. So where does that leave it for the future? Like, do you think you would revisit these characters down the road if given the opportunity? And then maybe if there's a couple of specific plot points that you didn't get to explore or go as deep into as you wanted to in the first three seasons?
um I don't think I can elaborate on what plot points I would want to explore, because I think that just sets off the maybe imagination in the wrong direction, unless you've been able to explore them.
And you're not in Lisa's mind, so you don't want to read into that further.
Exactly. And or at least I don't have the bandwidth to kind of do that in a short form. In terms of revisiting, I think I leave that up a lot to the imagination of, or like the imagination of myself. Like I can also rest for myself in like in knowing that if I ever wake up in the morning just going, wait a second, this is something that I would want to tell with these characters, I would go after it. Absolutely. I wouldn't be like, no, but I said I wasn't gonna. But it's very hard to know what's going to happen in the future. And I think politically and in the world around us, there's so many things happening that we don't know where we're going to be in a few years. So it's really hard to kind of judge that. So I will probably have to say that I will leave that to the future to decide for me.
It's something that's, it's fluid, really, your thoughts. So, like you mentioned, you could wake up one day in a few years, maybe 5 years, and say it would be cool to see where they're at now, but you'll see where you are at that point. I'm glad to know you are going to be keeping busy and in demand. You mentioned a project in the US. Can you share any more details? I know before you did say in an interview that you were writing a comedy and have a project about 17-year-olds, although you are taking a bit of a break from the youth genre post Young Royals.
Yeah. No, I don't think I can say anything about the US project, unfortunately. I can say that it was very helpful with all the fans that answered. It was amazing. Like I got so many great points. And there was a place that I had already had on my list. We had a few places that a lot of people wrote about, which really helped, which was amazing. So I'm definitely gonna have that in mind when we choose where to actually film this and where it's supposed to take place. And that is a comedy, yes. But and then I do have a film that I've been thinking that I have to make for a long while. But yes, they are like 16 years old in that films, and I was like, I need a break from being in the teen trauma for myself as well, just remembering so much from my teenage years. Um, and yeah, but I do think that you'll see me work on a lot of original projects in the next coming years, hopefully, and hope that the industry gets back up on its feet and that we can see a lot more the type of stories that the Young Royals family likes, better, amazing queer writers and amazing new queer stories. That's what I hope for at least. And of course, queerness is always going to be part of my stories because it's part of the world and it's part of my everyday life. So it's hard for me not to add that into anything I put my hands on.
I see you being such a positive change and force in the industry. So I know that you're only going to make it a brighter and a better space, a more inclusive space. So thank you so much for, creating such a masterpiece. I know it took a village. So for you and your team on Young Royals, its impact will continue to live on, even if we don't get to revisit these characters again. But as a fan myself, fingers crossed. But I know it will reach new audiences as well. So thank you for your time and your generosity today.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for kind of, yeah, really tying the ribbon on the very last interview about Young Royals for a while.
For a while. We'll see, but I'm so honored to get to do so and have like this full circle moment completed. But I mean, Lisa is working on a lot of new original works, so hopefully you all stay tuned and support Lisa in those new projects and endeavors. To all those watching, you can catch Young Royals season 3 is out on Netflix, and we will see you next time.
Bye.